No, me, Uncle. Hello and welcome to Onesies, a podcast of one season wonders and blunders. My name's Andrew.
Hi, I'm Emily.
And we are in our 11th season discussing 1975's When Things Were Rotten, created ostensibly by Mel Brooks, Norman Stiles, and John Bonney. You did some research, and it seems like the latter two had a little bit more to do with it.
Yeah, so my understanding is that they wrote a treatment of the Robin Hood legend in the style of a Mel Brooks movie. I don't know which movies had come out by then. And some production company sent it to Mel Brooks, and he was like, punching it up. I love it. By the way, I want Richard Dimitri to play a dual role in this. And then, of course, spoilers, sorry, Mel Brooks makes a very brief appearance in the episode.
Which I missed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see him.
But then his name, maybe it's created by, but he is no longer writing or credited for writing any of the episodes that follow after this first pilot.
There's a number of Mel Brooks repertoire folks involved coming up. So Richard Dimitri, we're going to get to talk about him a bit. Where was he born? What's his ethnic background?
Not Puerto Rico.
Ooh, no. Well,
No.
That's good. That's great. New York, New York.
I mean, maybe.
Possibly. His name doesn't,
but that could be
But who knows? He does not have his parentage online. So yes, we are talking about the first episode, which is called "The Capture of Robin Hood." Interestingly enough, when this was canceled, its mid-season replacement was Bionic Woman, which then became a hit.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too.
I don't know how you did a mid-season replacement with an hour-long show, with a half-hour show, but I'm not. Oh God, ABC in 1975. Are we ever going to escape ABC?
We keep coming back to ABC.
Coming back to ABC. Okay, so we start with the theme song, which is
I love the theme
delightful.
Song.
Yes, it is strange. Like it's very hard to describe this show, which when you had watched it and I hadn't seen it yet, your messages sort of implied, but the theme song alone is it just sort of brings you back to we haven't done any shows from the 70s, have we?
No, we haven't.
Yeah. And it like really brought me back to watching, I don't know, the Brady Bunch. Like there are some Mel Brooksy things in this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also like, Paramount, did you say when they were making Police Squad, did you tell them that you wanted it with some of the same gags as When Things Were Rotten or something?
Yeah.
Like Paramount been trying to put this together for years. But then at another level, it is just a straightforward Robin Hood
comedy.
Yeah, I mean, it's
so the storyline. I mean, we've all heard of this episode anyway. We've all seen before. I think it's the plot of the Disney Robin Hood movie. I think part of it is in Robin Hood Men in Tights, which is the Mel Brooks movie 20 years later. I think I don't remember if it's the plot of the Kevin Costner Robin Hood movie, but this is like the traditional Robin Hood story. This 25-minute episode, everybody's heard this. What I found interesting about it is, one, the laugh track.
Ooh.
That was rough. That was really, really hard. Two, everybody was really brought. Mel Brooks, I get it. everybody was really, really, really broad, except for Robin Hood.
Yes. And
He
he
was
was
the
the guy
only
who
straight man.
played Jaime the robot on Get Smart. So I was actually
Yeah.
expecting him to play it a little bit broader, but no. Yes. And in case we're wondering how well they did with Maid Marian, she is a bimbo.
Yep.
So she's a busty bimbo. Um, that's about it. That's all there kind of is to say about it.
And the other trope that is frustrating but is common in Mel Brooks comedies, also in many comedies in the 60s and 70s, is all the bad guys were really a fet.
Yes.
Um, yeah, that's all I can say.
Yeah.
All of them, like every single one.
Hey, at least we're not talking about Blazing Saddles. So that's probably not one we should be talking about at this point in history. Okay, so yes, but the story, it's the Robin Hood uh participates in an archery contest and is found out, captured, and then escapes.
Yeah.
Thanks to his merry men. I believe this is a scene in the Kevin Costner movie, or they have at least trappings of it, but I assume this was, I mean, I knew this story right away. It is
Yeah.
no doubt in one of the written Robin Hood, whatever the historical texts are. And what's particularly interesting about this is that Robin Hood used to be he was, the Batman of the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Even like he was an action hero.
Yeah.
And we saw some of this. I mean, even with the Kevin Costner one, is that people have been constantly trying to franchise a Robin Hood, and they haven't been able to. I don't know that
Kevin
there's ever.
Sorbo?
No, he never did Robin Hood.
What did he do? Hercules.
Hercules.
That's different.
Yeah, and so there have been Robin Hood TV shows. There have been. I assume there was a Robin Hood movie serial at some point. There's the what's his face one, Errol Flynn, famous one that people really like for some reason. And then they tried making one a few years ago with Jamie Farrell or Jamie Foxx, and
Oh, did they?
as the
I don't remember
sidekick.
that.
Yeah, it was Taron Egerton. Before he
Okay.
discovered he was much better acting than action starring, I think. Um, slightly quirky acting, sort of if Wes Anderson hired a heartthrob or something. But so it's just interesting to see just this. It's like, how Westerns used to be the staple, because it's like they
Yeah.
have all the costumes, they have all the sets, and they're just like really, it's certainly with what we've been watching as far as sitcoms. It's weird to think that the production values on this are so much stronger than on something than, oh God, what did we? I'm thinking of not Free Angel, Free Spirit, or
Free
whatever. Like
Spirit.
the production values on that were absolute crap. This is mostly filmed either on a set or out, but they actually filmed outside somewhere in a very nice California state park somewhere. MASH was probably over the hill, but it it has like, it looks pretty good, which makes it
Yeah.
super interesting when it's goofy, strange, and just bewildering, and then there's a laugh track.
And there's the laugh track. The laugh track really threw me off.
So one of the things that I don't know if I've talked about this. I'm sure I have, but a sitcom writer named Ken Levine has, I assume he's still out there, has a blog. I stopped reading him when he made comments about Faye Dunaway's appearance, which were very gross. But he, at the time he started the blog, was around the time MASH came out on DVD, and somebody asked him, because he answered reader questions, like he answered my question about why his Mannequin 2 stories, because he and his writing partner were credited on that. But somebody asked about laugh tracks in MASH, and he's like, no, you're supposed to watch it with the laugh track because the DVD has it without the laugh track, which is an entirely different, far superior experience. And I've been hoping for a like AI laugh track removal. Apparently, we're not there yet. But like something like this, where it's like the laugh track kicks in and they're outside. Like it makes you're just like
no
they're
sense.
not in front of a studio audience.
No.
It's one of those, it's like the BBC series where they play it for people and record the laugh track. It's weird. And the jokes
Yeah.
are really weird too. And the pacing of the
Yeah.
jokes is very 70s sitcom. The pacing of the jokes, like you'll have some jokes in here that are basically, repetition jokes out of a Mel Brooks movie, out of Police Squad, but the pacing of the way they do them are out of a freaking Brady Bunch episode. And it's just weird. And
it's
we haven't
weird.
even gotten to Bernie Kopel, who, what the living F is going on?
I loved it.
You loved it?
I loved it.
Okay.
So the character he's playing, Alan's whatever, is the traditional narrator of Robin Hood. Except in this, he's just sort of interjecting, but it's a lot to do with Robin Hood and Maid Marian making out.
Yes.
But my favorite was when they're eating around the table and Robin Hood swoops in and he's like, is it any wonder he's our leader? I loved that. I don't know why, but it made me so happy. I loved the character.
Okay.
And again, from just the basic research that I did, after the pilot, the tone changes a little bit.
Okay.
And this is going to be difficult because I'm so young.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, there's a lot more to do with 70s social issues. Like they make jokes about 70s social issues and things that I might not have a ton of awareness of.
Do they make fun of?
And my elderly husband might know more. So maybe I'll make him watch it with me.
Make him watch it with you.
Yeah.
And get the benefit of his generation's take on this. He should guest on the show, really, to sort of talk to us about what the 70s were like from his perspective as a 25-year-old or whatever he was. Yeah. The social issue thing's going to be kind of funny given how they portray the Richard Dimitri character. Is the social issue that people are being nice to gay people and they don't like that or something? Like,
no, I don't think that's it. But I mean, it'll be interesting. I saw that there were going to be references to like OPEC and like, I don't know. It's going to be real weird. It's going to be real weird. It's going to be a nice little history lesson for me.
Cool. We can do that. Yes. OPEC was the gas shortage that we were sure we were never going to have.
Well, OPEC is the consortium of like oil producing nations. Yeah.
Yeah. Dick Van Patten is Friar Tuck. He didn't really register.
He's like a sight gag.
Yeah. And they use him as one. They will refer to Friar Tuck and then he'll show up eating
an entire chicken. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. So, I mean, we meet the Sheriff of Nottingham, who is played by Henry Pollock-ish the second, who was best known as Jerry Silver on Webster. Nope, I don't. He was not the dad or the mom or Webster, and I don't remember anybody else in the show besides that. He was Susan Clark's secretary, which I do not remember. There is a lengthy sword fight scene.
It was so lame. Like I just watching it, it was like up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And then the gag with the baguette where Robin is fighting him with the baguette and then he slices it all up and then he has to drop the rest of it and run away. It was very, very silly.
And the silliness angle is very interesting. And I guess I get what one might expect from a Mel Brooks TV show is some silliness. But it is incredibly broad for sort of contemporary tastes.
Yeah.
let's see. We haven't. Oh, Ron Rifkin is in it as Prince John,
He plays
which
really broad, but I loved it.
I
It was the
was
perfect.
delighted to see
Yeah.
young Ron Rifkin. I didn't know he'd ever been young,
I
and so
did not recognize it as
I
Ron
didn't
Rifkin.
either. I
Yeah,
didn't
I don't think I've
either.
ever
I
seen
saw
him
it in
that
the
young.
credits. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
he's never. He aged immediately after this, I think. Um, yeah, and I mean, so the guy who plays Robin Hood, Dick Gautier.
He's
I mean,
fine.
he's
He's
fine.
he's
Like he's
handsomey, he's
handsome.
charming,
Yeah, I mean,
he's smooth.
he seems. What's interesting about it too is that he's on a slightly different level than everybody else throughout most of the episode. Really, only when he engages with Maid Marian does it feel
Mm,
like he's interacting on the same level as like Dick Van Patten or Richard Dimitri or
yeah,
that sort of thing. Because the Maid Marian thing is so bad that
it's really bad. Poor
it's
woman.
really really bad. Like
Yeah.
I'm just like, whoa, whoa! I did not think about 1975, and this is not a empowered Maid Marian. This is not. Oh shit! Did no? Keira Knightley was arrow shooting Queen Guinevere in Arthur, not Maid Marian. Has there been a badass Maid Marian yet?
No, I mean, I think even in Robin Hood Men in Tights, Amy Yazbek was sort of ditzy. She just wasn't blonde. She was
Right.
redhead. Yeah,
And I don't
like
think she like was quite as busty
no,
as
she was not as busty, but she was still sort of like
yeah.
swoony. Who
Yeah.
else was Maid Marian?
Mary Elizabeth Master Antonio was Maid Marian in the Robin Hood or the Robin Hood Kevin Costner one. She didn't do any action stuff really. Uma Thurman was in the one that came out at the same time. She was a damsel. I mean, Maid Marian is one of the traditional damsel in distress roles.
Yeah, yeah.
Didn't they make a Robin Hood where it's a woman and people are upset about that or
There
something?
was one in the UK, like a BBC in like the late 80s, Maid Marian and Her Merry Men or something.
Uh, 404 Air for the first Google result. Sexy Robin Hood pictures. Cool, 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 cool. The Wikipedia article says, was she not even in the? Oh, here's the film. Eve Hewson played her in the 2018 one, the Taron Egerton one. Oh, Ridley Scott. That's right. They tried to do a Russell Crowe one that
I don't
nobody
remember that
gave a shit
either.
about
I don't like
because
Russell
Ridley
Crowe.
Scott, well, and Ridley Scott eats a log. Kate Blanchett played her, but she was a feisty, capable noblewoman. But that does not imply she was a hero
No,
in any way.
she just might
So
not have been such a bimbo.
in the 2001 Disney film Princess of Thieves, Robin Hood and Maid Marian are the parents of a daughter played by Keira Knightley, who is, an active person. Um, yeah. So basically, we've never had sort of a revisionist Maid Marian, and this is no different. So
It's
maybe
time.
Skippy,
It's time.
it's time, but also, well, I mean, just calling her Maid Marian sort of already
Yeah.
has some issues. Um, but yeah, I don't know. So it's certainly not as bad as some. I mean, it's weird enough that I don't know that we're gonna burn out necessarily. I
Yeah.
mean, we might, but I feel like
It's
we're
a
gonna burn
short
out.
it's a
Yeah.
short episode, it's a short series, and I feel like after this kind of traditional Robin Hood tale, introducing all of the characters and sort of setting the stage for more, it's going to be a lot different. Again,
Okay.
if they're going to start introducing social issues, I'm really interested to see how that turns out, you know?
Yeah. Okay. New York
I mean, it could be
Times.
awful. It
It
could
could be.
absolutely be awful.
I think
I hope they get
with
rid of the laugh track for the
they won't.
post.
No, they won't. Never. they'll add more. Come on now. You know how much people love laugh tracks.
I hope that
Um,
Richard Dimitri's character, the bad guy character that he plays, so he plays two characters, everybody. He plays sort of the stooge of the Sheriff of Nottingham, and he plays one of the merry men. Um, and the stooge character changes, but
and
I don't know if he's going to
becomes
be less effete. I loved his performance as the bad guy, as the merry man. He's doing like a Puerto Rican thing that's a little problematic, considering Dimitri does not sound like a Hispanic name. I could be wrong. Um,
yeah,
he is kind of
it's
ethnically ambiguous looking. So,
yeah,
but he was really funny.
yeah. And he sort of, in some ways, he has the most to do if you
Yeah.
think about it, because Dick Van Patten's for sight gags, Bernie Kopel does amusing commentary, just bewildering amusing commentary. Breaking. Well, that's the other thing is many, if not most, of the characters break the fourth wall.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would say Maid Marian and Dick Van Patten are the only ones that never do in the episode. I think
I
everybody
don't think
else.
Little John does.
Oh, I forgot Little John was in it, because he's basically just there to carry things around.
Yeah, he's just a big dumb guy, right?
Yeah. So, but
Um, but I wrote Ron Rifkin is so broad with a smiley face because I loved
mhm.
it. It was so funny. Dick Van Patten, I just wrote his name
Yeah,
since that's how the genesis of your choice is just looking at Dick Van Patten projects. Bernie Kopel, I thought Bernie Kopel was really funny, and Richard Dimitri, what he carried the show for me
yeah,
as the bad guy character. He carried the show.
yeah.
Poor Maid Marian.
Yep. I think based on looking at Misty Rowe's Wikipedia page, it's more like poor Misty Rowe. Like
Yeah,
this is all she did.
yeah,
Halter tops and things like that. So somebody wrote a song about her being their sexual awakening as a teenage boy. So that's
gross.
nice. Yeah,
That's
well, you know,
disgusting.
women should think of those things as compliments. That's why they should like be kissed by their team owners or whatever happened in Spain, where some
Oh yeah,
lady soccer coach was like, eh. Basically, Adrian Brody's really problematic, and it's not okay just to kiss women, or men, or non-binary folks without their consent.
yeah. Don't kiss
Enthusiastic,
anybody.
if you have any self-respect, it should be enthusiastic consent. Okay, so next week is called the French Disconnection, I believe.
Okay, good, good. I read a little bit
So
about this one.
where are you reading about these? There's nothing on Wikipedia.
No, just internet searching.
Okay.
Just internet searching. I think. Uh,
There were no, that was a really funny bit for Richard Dimitri's. Bertram is his guy.
Bertram. Yeah, that's the bad guy.
The
Yeah.
the whole when all of his guard is knocked off and he makes a bunch of joke, their names are all funny. That was a very, it feels very much like Mel Brooks for TV. Like
Yes.
it this feels like something they should have referenced on Freaks and Geeks, frankly. Like the nerds should have been like, have you ever seen When Things Were Rotten? We watched the
They.
reruns.
Well, Martin Starr's character dresses up like the Bionic Woman for Halloween, so that
Yeah,
immediately follows.
yeah. So
Yeah, and they're all Mel Brooks nerds.
yeah.
But this show was only one season, and it was canceled because it quote couldn't find an audience. Uh,
So we'll see what that means.
yeah.
Sometimes that means it's because people are stupid. Other times it means it's going to extremes. And
Did you read that Erica Alexander article? She
I,
mentions going to
she
extremes.
does, but she does not say a bunch of terrible white people
No,
were like, hey, have you been exploited as a black woman lately?
she describes it as a drama.
Mm-hmm.
I
It
guess that's
is.
before dramedy was a thing.
Yes. It's an
Yeah.
hour long
Okay.
drama. So technically it has to be. Um,
Well, good
well,
for her though. good for her for being in a major motion picture and for continuing to have a career.
Motion picture and things like that. And for bringing back into the conversation that Living Single was an incredibly popular show.
And that her character is like people still come up to her and talk about Maxine and that character as like a boss ass lady.
We can't watch that show because it's like 5 or 6 seasons, but
but it's really good.
Yeah.
I surprised my husband when I could sing the entire theme song. Like recently, I haven't seen that movie since it was on TV. I could still sing the goddamn theme song now. I'm good.
I mean, you should find some other shows from the 70s you can sing him the theme song to, because he will remember them. Because
Laverne and Shirley, I also surprised him with.
Wow. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
He would have been practically 30 when that came on. Okay. Do we have anything else?
No, I think that's it. Join us next time, folks, when we continue watching When Things Were Rotten. Episode number 2, the French Disconnection. No more Mel Brooks, it looks like. But that's okay. We'll still enjoy it. See you next time. Thank you for listening. Andrew, see you in Television Land.
See you in Television Land, Emily.
Bye.
Not just food, but also caves. Forgotten, everybody kicked the peasants. Things were bad and that ain't good. Then came Robin Hood. Ba-ba. Soon a band of merry men he gotten. They wore outfits made of plain green cotton. Helping victims was their business. Boy, oh boy, was business good. Good for Robin Hood. They laughed, they loved, they fought, they drank. They jumped a lot of fences. They robbed the rich, get to the poor. Except what they kept for expenses. So when other legends are forgotten, we'll remember back when things were rotten. Yay for Robin Hood. They laughed, they loved, they fought, they drank. They jumped a lot of fences. The rich get to the poor, except what they get for expenses. So when other legends are forgotten,